There's something special about your first MMORPG. Sure, when you look back now, it's janky. The graphics are showing their age, and some things about the game kind of suck. A lot of people will tell you that game looks like trash. And they're right, it does. But it's my kind of trash. What the hell is Project Quarm? Well, similar to Project 1999, it's another way to play classic Everquest. I'll leave links in the description of how to install if you are interested in joining the adventure. Now, I can't get into the story without saying thank you to all the amazing people that I've met so far. Don't worry, you're going to get to know some of them soon enough. But before I start yammering on about my adventures in Norath, I want to offer a massive thank you to Secrets and the team of the Project Quarm server and Discord. Thank you for making this happen. Secondly, I want to offer thanks to the official Everquest developers. If they weren't cool with allowing these types of projects, none of this would be possible. And finally, thank you to all the new and returning subscribers. You guys are the best. Okay, let's get after it. This is my barbarian shaman, Destin. Like all brothers and sisters of the North, my journey begins in Halas. And Halas is white. No, I'm not being racist, like adjust your settings because I've never been closer to having fucking snow blindness in a video game before adventuring in Halas. I'm gonna be honest though, despite the many controversy statements about leveling in the north, Halas itself is a pretty cool little town. It has that tucked away, secluded feel to it, and I'm pretty sure that that's the point. I mean, you have to go through a cave and cross a gap of frozen water to finally reach the gates of this well-guarded city of big frosty men. Its locations are easy to find, its shops are well advertised, and it's got a homeliness to it, you know, that rivals Rivervale. I can already hear the hobbits bitching in the comments. I didn't say it was better, I said it was cool. Settle down, you little fuckers, you're still in the running for the best starting zone. But the North is not a place for the weak. In the North, you will fight for every inch of character development. In the North, you will fight or you will die. The monsters of Everfrost are the world's biggest gang. One spider can become 4 spiders in seconds. Like they have their homie on speed dial or something. The wolves and the bears have like this unspoken alliance. Pull one, get both. The skeletons, they're a game of dice. Sometimes you get a decaying skeleton and a rusty blade to sell for a few gold pieces. Or you get a vengeful soloist who walks all up and down your ass. A barbarian's trial is one of conflict and resolve. You will pull too much. You will run back to the guards, and you will sit in the safety of the firelight. Higher level barbarians will buff you as they pass, or throw out a nod or a bow, because they know that this place sucks, and you're a badass for playing a barbarian. I want to talk about the low-level experience in Everfrost. Like I said earlier, it's tough. You basically sit near the entrance of the city, and you pull critters that you hope you can beat from the frozen highway that's right outside the entrance. At level 1, this consists of 2 types of monsters, spiderlings and decaying skeletons. But the spiderlings are social, so if you hit one and another one sees that shit, you're about to have a bad time. They also run away at low health, so you have to pull them far enough back to be able to finish the job, before they're able to skitter off and find some of their 8-legged buddies to send you back to the respawn. Listen, this is some free advice. If you are new to EverQuest and you're level 1, regardless of what class race combo that you decide to play, shoot for killing decaying skeletons. They have rusted weapons you can sell, and cloth armor to kit out your new hero, as well as bone chips that you can save up to sell to a friendly necromancer or shadow knight later on in life. The level 1 experience for the freshly created barbarian is the first quit moment you're going to come across. It is easy to get spanked in Everfrost. The monsters are almost all higher level than you, social, and the places to engage the enemy safely are few and far between. Win if you can, run if you must. Seriously, I felt like I was at the used car lot struggling to decide what beater with a heater best suited my needs, as I watched this conga line of enemies walk back and forth on this narrow frozen highway. Pair all this with the fact that barbarians can't see in the dark, and the constant drone of the howling wind will drain the very soul out of your desire to soldier on. Also at night is when the scary skeletons spawn. Don't worry, they look exactly like the decaying skeletons, except they took afterlife steroids and can kill a level 1 character with one swing. I think they are related to a bard quest or something. This is a guess because they all have some kind of musical name, like the soloist or lyrist and musical undead jackass or something like that. Seriously, fuck those guys. But if you are careful and determined and can fight off the light blindness during the day and the actual blindness at night, you can achieve level 2. Congratulations, you are one step closer to escaping this frozen hell. To be honest, for me, that was how I initially felt about Everfrost and starting in Halas. I need to get some levels so I can escape this fucking nightmare. I think this is why barbarian players are so easygoing when you meet them out in the wilds of Norath. They've escaped Everfrost. Any zone is a sight for sore eyes compared to the eyesore of home. At least this was how I felt at level 1. I can't overstate the dangers for the starting hero of Everfrost. Fights here are brutal. Either you trounce your enemy in a few hits or it's a battle to the last hit point. And even after getting a level or 2 under your belt, you will still have to run to the guards because you pulled too many enemies. As a shaman, I wanted to get some gold because I only began with 2 spells and neither of them were very cool. So I started to try to target skeletons to sell their rusty weapons. Eventually, I was able to afford more spells to add to my magical arsenal and a large bag. It's a pittance in comparison to the scope of progression in an MMO, but for me, this was progress. If we're talking about Everquest, I have to talk about sitting. As I said in my Project Shadow Knight video, sitting is a core mechanic in EQ. You see, Everquest doesn't want to hog up all of your precious time. You will have a ton of time to do other things while your character sits on his ass to regain hit points and mana. You could walk your dog. You could do your taxes. You could go on a date. You could get married. You could grow a beard. You could catch your wife sleeping with the mailman and get a divorce. Okay, it's getting dark fast. Regardless, you will have downtime, especially early on. It was during these quiet times that I began to somewhat appreciate Everfrost. It's lonely at night for the low-level barbarian. As I sat regaining mana and hit points with only the constant drone of howling wind to keep me company, I began to see this place for what it was, a test. This is the proving grounds for the barbarian of Halas. Halas is cut off from the rest of the world by a twisting frozen maze, and the Knoll stronghold of Blackburrow, which blocks passage to the outside world. To escape, you need to be strong enough to fight your way out, or lucky enough to sprint through and escape into the Quenos Hills. My mama didn't raise no bitch, so I'm gonna fight my way out. I just had to pick my fights carefully enough, remain vigilant, and not make stupid choices when choosing when to fight or run. So I began to fall into a rhythm of killing, sitting, and selling. And then I met Rubius. Okay, what were my initial impressions of Rubius? Well, to be honest, I was certain that this nerd was going to get me fucking killed. You see, Rubius was a level or so lower than me, but I want you to take any given level of achievement in an MMO and times that by 4. That is the confidence level of Rubius. He may only be level 2, but this nerd pulls like he's Conan the Barbarian. I met him in the frozen highway while he was getting his ass chewed by every monster in the field. It didn't look like it was an accident. I'm pretty sure he pulled that shit on purpose. And yet, I jumped at the opportunity to team up, and I couldn't be happier with that decision. Together, we ran away from monsters, and ran away from monsters some more. And Rubius died, and I ran away from monsters alone. This is his alt character, meaning he has a higher level character. His main is a ranger, and he had stuff to twink over to his barbarian waiting for him in the EC tunnel. That's pretty far away from Everfrost, mind you. But he had to escape Everfrost first. So, as we bantered and tried to kill enemies, I say tried because we were a fucking mess. Every time we picked a fight, it turned into a royal rumble, and we were forced to run away or die, then partake in the age-old custom of sitting on our ass to regain health and mana. Now, normally I don't tell people that I make videos, but I felt like it's a courtesy to ask if they mind if I record our time together. Most people are pretty cool about it, and if my channel gets asked about, I try my best to be humble. The reason for this is the same reason that I don't name my characters after my channel. First off, it's fucking stupid to play a barbarian shaman named Wreck-It Rogue. Now, if I make a rogue, I'll name him Wreck-It, but rogues are a whole different mess in classic Everquest. And secondly, I want to experience the game the same way that everybody else does. Nothing turns me off to hanging out with someone in game more than if they have TTV attached to their character's name. You can call me a nerd. You're playing a fantasy game. Why the fuck is your gnomish female necromancer named Poonslayer 69 TTV? Okay, we're getting off subject. I did this very thing to Rubius, and he was cool with me recording. So our adventure continued much as it had since the moment we met. We got our asses kicked at every turn. Honestly, we spent more time pulling enemies to guard McMarin than fighting. I'm pretty sure the guard leveled off our stupidity. But I was having a blast. We started to talk shit about Everfrost and why it was, well, the way it is.
Number 1. Why are the guards 2 miles away? Number 2. Why the fuck there's spiders up in here? It's like 10 degrees.
I bet the elves don't have to deal with this kind of shit.
They don't. The guards are 2 steps away. Lovely forest to med in.
All flowers and XP every step of the way.
Amen.
Regardless of our situation, I was having fun. I wasn't gaining much experience because of all the running away, but the group and have a kindred spirit in the game and the camaraderie of playing with someone who was also struggling in this frozen wasteland was fantastic. Now, we didn't always lose. We won our fair share of micro fights, and we took the victories like any 4-year-old trapped in a grown man's body would.
We deserve an award.
We over-celebrated and talked shit, but progression was slow. Too slow for Rubius. He asked if I would be playing for a bit, and I told him it wasn't like I could leave this nightmare, but yeah, I would be online if that's what he meant. He said he would be right back and left the group, and I was alone again. I immediately felt the cold creep back into my character, that stoic feeling of being alone in a dangerous place. To be honest, you can never hold a person to their word in an MMO without visual proof. I'll be right back sometimes is the last time you ever see a stranger in an MMO. So I went back to the grind, killing, sitting, and selling. I retook up residence at the entry to Halas and pulled monsters that I could handle. This lasted for about half an hour. Then, while fighting a spider, a scrawny ranger came running into view named Rindis. It was Rubius's main, his ranger. He had made the run to Halas to give equipment to both me and his barbarian. I want to take a moment to talk about the trust involved in this process. Rubius was about to hand me 2 bags of goodies and 7 platinum, all with the hope that I wasn't a big fat turd who would steal his things, log off, or just keep them and ignore him. This is trust, people, trust in a stranger that he had barely known for over an hour, and yet he handed over the bags and the cash, buffed me with his ranger, and then logged off to rejoin the game with his barbarian. And I did what any kind person would do. I stole that shit. I'm just kidding. He logged back in and I handed over all the stuff. Not only was he trusting in a stranger, but then he proceeded to give me half of the items in platinum. I want to take a second here, man. Thank you, Rubius, because this was amazing and a game changer for my character. But I also want to touch on the community of Everquest. These are the nicest and most generous people in any MMORPG that I have ever played. They will help people just because they can, and in today's day and age of toxic bullshit, they are a breath of fresh air and kindness in a world that is more hell-bent on saying something edgy than offering kindness and advice. And it's amazing. Now coated in the finest bearhide jerkins in Norath and looking like absolute units, Rubius and I were ready to kick some ass. But, like two cocky children, all that power went straight to our heads, and we pulled what I now consider the Everfrost, Spider, and Knoll debacle of 2024. Thankfully, only Knowles died in the making of this documentary. Shortly after, Rubius had to call it a night, and we agreed to group up again soon. That next time we would take on Blackburrow, and Rubius logged out for the night. My time with Rubius had awarded me level 4, and I'm going to be honest, the newbie area of Everfrost was starting to look different. Most of the enemies prowling the night in this frozen maze of solitude were starting to avoid the big burly shaman. I was able to pick fights where I wanted to, and I was able to fight more than one enemy at a time. So I decided to explore a bit and came across another hero. His name was Felon, and he was killing goblins. I asked if he would like to group up, and he said the XP wasn't worth a group, but he said he was almost done with the spot and that I could take over if I wanted. He also informed me about a necklace quest back in town, and that 6 goblin necklaces could be combined in a bag and turned in at the Fighters Guild. I already came across the quest, but I was using the bag as storage rather than a quest item. Times are tough, okay? It's not like I was never going to do the quest. I took Felon's advice, and after he left the area, I began my conquest of the ice goblins of Everfrost. Quick thank you to Felon for the camp and the advice, not only about the goblins, but concerning Blackburrow and when to begin grouping for XP. People in this game are so awesome. The metrics of my gameplay were identical to what they had been since I started. Kill, sit, sell. And so I smashed goblins and took their bling. Killing goblins is pretty fun in a whack-a-mole kind of way, and I hit level 5, which meant I could learn new spells. So I went back to Halas, handed over the jewelry bag to the fighter lady, banked my spare cash, and, then went to go learn new spells. Then I went back to the bank because I'm a dipshit and forgot that spells cost money. Then went to go buy my new spells. Now, I didn't record this because sometimes I'm a little slow, but while buying spells, I had a chat with a higher level shaman who was also at the guild doing, I don't know what he was doing, but I bet it was cooler than what I was doing. Anyway, I asked him about shaman weapons and if there was a weapon that I could pursue as a good starter weapon for my character. He told me about a quest that rewarded a hammer called the Gavel of Justice, and while explaining the quest to me, and while I googled how to obtain this weapon, he realized that it is tradable, and he actually had the hammer in his bank from when he was low level, and he asked if I wanted his old one. I can't overstate the generosity of the Everquest community. I wasn't sure how I felt about being handed magic stuff, but life on the tundra is hard, damn it. And this hammer already had history to it. I mean, he wielded it at low level and was now gifting it to me to continue its legacy. So I accepted. It's by no means the end-all beat-all of weapons, and it felt appropriate for my level. It's magical and adds +5 to my mana and will allow me to hurt creatures that require a magic weapon. I'm not sure if that's a thing, but it's magical and I like that part. I also was able to trade in a polar bear skin to the kilt lady, and I got a new helmet. It's a polar bear head, man. Now that we're all caught up, I went back to smashing goblins with my new hammer. While sending goblins to Jesus, a high elf wizard approached, and she asked if I wanted to trim out the rest of my missing armor slots with patchwork leather. Yeah. Up until this point, most of my barbarian was protected by air and a dream. She said that if I could source the ruined bear pelts, that she could turn them into armor. At first I started killing bears, but I ended up just buying 12 ruined pelts from the vendor at the city gates for 1 gold piece. She also made me a few handmade bags so I could carry more ill-begotten gain. I gave her the 20-some spiderling silks I had acquired in thanks for offering her tailoring services. This is Khaleesi, and she will be visiting us again later in the video. For now though, we added each other as friends and shared a pleasant conversation about the game. But by this time in my play session, it was almost 3 in the morning, so I had to call it a night. I bid her farewell and thanked her again, then logged off for the evening. The next day, I logged back into Everquest ready to eat the leveling sandwich. I went to work on the goblins with renewed vigor. I was fully kitted out in the finest high elven patchwork bearskin, wearing the bearskin jerkin of Rubius, and wielding the gavel of justice. I was ready to beat some goblin ass. gaining both levels 6 and 7. You want to know what the goblin experience in Everfrost looks like what it really looks like for 2 hours looting butt beads off angry little blue men? It looks like this. No, go on, drink it in. No, don't look away. This is what the true essence of the barbarian experience looks like. Fishing beads out of a goblin's ass. By level 7, I felt ready to test the waters of Blackburrow. I had been there before on my Oakwing characters, so I knew both the layout and what to expect. But I wanted to see how my shaman held up against the gnolls. I used the P99 wiki map to navigate the frozen pass of Everfrost to the entrance of the gnolls' lair. 2 guards stand outside the entrance to Blackburrow, and I was able to bonk both of them without any real trouble. I thought that this might be a good place to farm, so I sat and waited for them to respawn. Yeah, this was taking way too long, so I decided to head in. Blackburrow is a pretty well-farmed spot on Project Quarm. People were constantly zipping back and forth through the zone, and the gnolls were a little scarce, so I exited the lair on the Quanos side of the dungeon, and decided to kill the multiple gnolls that spawned out front and patrolled the area. It was working out pretty well. I was able to handle 3 gnolls at a time, and although the experience wasn't all that, I knew that gnoll teeth could be turned in at the Quanos Fighters Guild for experience and moonstones. Then those moonstones could be traded to a local barkeep for booze. I am so fucking thirsty right now. Reading out loud to yourself kind of sucks. Anyway, this was my plan, to kill gnolls and extract their teeth like some barbarian medieval dentist. And then Rubius asked what I was up to, and I told him I was killing gnolls. At this point in the adventure, I was level 7, and Rubius, who is probably a real adult, was only level 3 because, he has like friends and shit to do in real life. But he wanted to come to Blackburrow and give it a go. I told him that we could kill goblins. I knew a really good spot to collect beads. But he wanted gnoll blood. Remember what I said about his confidence levels? I tried to meet him at the Everfrost entrance to Blackburrow, but a gnome came running through screaming train. She had brought a whole menagerie of shit in her wake, and one of Everfrost's most nefarious monsters, the magical musical skeleton a-hole of Satan, who wasted no time trying to evict my soul from my body. I tried to rezone to meet up with Rubius and warn him of Skeletor on his side of the zone. And in his usual mannerism, he said,
Woot.
He really is a psychopath. I have made friends with a madman. Luckily for the both of us, Mr. Bony Pants Guy had wandered off by the time Rubius arrived at Blackburrow. We cut through the zone and made our way out to the Quanos Hills entrance and went to work. Unfortunately, I kept drawing wife aggro and had to go AFK, leaving Rubius to do God's work in my absence. He managed well enough, and upon my return, we decided to re-enter Blackburrow and hold the upper level. I need to apologize because I had turned off OBS to go AFK and forgot to turn it back on upon returning and didn't realize this until after, but it's story time. Rubius and I re-entered Blackburrow. Man, this was nothing like the first time we grouped up. We were a well-oiled machine of gnoll spanking efficiency. Rubius doesn't have mana, at least I don't think, or he has 0 fucks to give about the blue bar. But I need to sit. It's all a part of my grind mindset of kill, sit, sell. So I have a sit, and that's when it happened. A plague rat waddled into the madman's line of sight, and with a gleam in his eye, Rubius attacked, and fucking died instantly. I didn't even get to stand up. The rat murdered him and just kept on waddling past me as if I wasn't even there. Shortly after this, Rubius had to log out and do adult bullshit that we all hate, and I was left to my own devices. Rubius, you are a legend, brother. Thank you for all the laughs. I stuck around Blackburrow for a time and managed to gather 9 teeth to turn in at the Quanos Fighters Guild. Man, that XP is delicious. I will totally be back for more of that action. And that was my intention, to use my gate spell, which teleports me back to Halas, buy a few more spells that I had yet to purchase, and then head back to Blackburrow. But while in Halas, again, I'm sorry that what you're seeing isn't matching what I'm talking about. I apparently was having an issue turning on OBS that day. But I came across a quest to hunt down a fugitive in the frozen tundra. The guild leader of the shamans was offering level 9 spells for returning this guy's head. And some of the level 9 spells are 5 platinum each. The tribal economy is just like all kinds of jacked up. So I took to the wiki, pulled up my map of Everfrost, and started hunting this a-hole. What I found were orcs, and I swear on my children what happened next was like out of a movie. I was getting my ass handed to me by an orc trooper, and out of nowhere running straight at both me and the orc was Khaleesi, the high elf wizard who made my tattered bear armor. Like a little bitch, I asked her to save me, and she zapped that nerd into the next world. What you're seeing now is me resting afterwards and her inviting me to a group. I had no idea what I was getting involved in. Before I go any further, I'm here on the map. At least I think that's where I was. How did she find me? We weren't talking in tells, there's no other players in sight, and she just appeared like an Everquest Gandalf, all arriving precisely when she means to. So we grouped up and she asked what I was doing out here. I told her about the fugitive I was hunting. And like some weird elven bloodhound, she was pointing at trees and saying crazy shit about trees looking about right, and walked me directly to the fugitive that I needed to kill. She's like Jason Bourne with fireballs. I could barely find my way back to the city, and she was able to tell the difference in the trees in correlation with the compass and the pixels of the earth. She was talking about placeholders and spawn routes, and I was like, yeah, okay. We killed my guy in moments, and I had been looking for this nerd for at least an hour before she saved my life and my quest. So I asked her why she was out here. I mean, she's a high elf. She doesn't need to be hunting in the frozen turd of Norath. She has elven glades and fairy magic places full of experience and music, where the magic flows like wine. What the hell is she doing out here in Ungabungaville? She said she was also looking for someone, but she wanted to trade a polar bear skin and 5 platinum to this nerd, and he would give her a snazzy new cloak. She asked if I wanted to hang out, kill monsters, and maybe we could find him together, and I was all about it. Khaleesi is a level 13 wizard. I'm level 8 at this point, so we can handle some pretty gnarly enemies together. She also has no qualms about shanking a motherfucker. I figured as a wizard she would try to hang back and use her devastating magic, and she did to pull enemies to us, and good lord high elf magic slaps. But she's not afraid to put that skinny little letter opener to work. Now, I'm a gentleman, so I didn't inspect her to see what all she was carrying, and to be honest, I could care less. She is a worthy ally, albeit an eccentric one, but all the greatest heroes have quirks. Together, we bathe in the blood of our foes. Except for orc shamans. I better get some of that dark magic shit or I'm gonna be a little salty, because they root you to the ground and then zap the pants off a frosty leatherman in under a minute. So I died for the first time. And to be honest, I was surprised and a little relieved to know that you don't have to do a corpse run until after level 10. Now, when you die, you lose experience, and I died twice on our little field trip, both times to an orc shaman. It's okay, one day I'm gonna come back here and murder those assholes wholesale. But Khaleesi and I hunted for hours for the elusive Karg ice bear. We killed a lot of critters together, but having died twice, the experience was kinda shit. But I didn't care. During our time together, I had made another friend, and that was more important to me than any amount of experience or loot. I stuck with her and hunted for this nerd until it was like 3 a.m., until I could no longer remain awake. Khaleesi had died twice as well during our adventure and now had less experience than when she had started this journey. I don't know if the cloak is badass, but I do hope that she found him. I wished her well and good luck, and that maybe I would be able to get Rubius to bring his ranger out here to track this guy at a later date, and Khaleesi and I parted ways for the evening. Today I awoke and began writing the words that you're hearing now. Shout out to everyone who has a really disgusting sleep schedule, by the way. This has been my initial experience in Everquest Project Quarm. Again, I want to thank everyone I have met in-game for being so cool. Secrets and the team over at Quarm for making this a thing. And thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys again in episode 2. Real quick, if you play Quarm or you saw this and you want to play together, my character's name has been all over the screen this whole video. Send me a tell, add me as a friend, hit me up on the Quarm Discord, and we'll hang out in Norath. I can't always play all of the time, but I'd love to play some of the time. Take care, friends.